Bukayo, thanks for coming on to the podcast. Bukayo is someone that whom I consider a marketing extraordinaire. For the past 7 years, he basically epitomizes that perfect balance between performance marketing and product marketing. And people like that are very rare in a profession where we are becoming much more niche and much more specialized. So he's a specialized generalist in that way. He has helped many businesses, brands to achieve digital growth from helping them achieve more sales, growing market share, lead generation. He basically grew from the regional market of West Africa to becoming the product marketing manager for global at Eskimi. And now he's chilling with the big boys as head of business at Pisi Mobile, a technological and telecommunications company that simplifies technology solutions for fintechs, telecom operators, generally helping with marketing solutions at large for those brands. So thank you very much for joining.
Thank you so much for having. It's PC by the way. It's PC Mobile. But
Okay, it's
yeah,
Pisi
thank
Mobile.
you so
Okay,
much.
all
Yeah.
right, all right. Thanks. So this conversation, the idea around it, let me just give you a synopsis of the reason why I opened up these conversations to certain persons. The reality is that there is a plethora of information when it comes to career development across the board. But what I notice is that career development is not one size fits all. Some people will say send out CVs, some people say go for networking event, open LinkedIn, send out emails, social media, blah, 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 blah. But what has been constant around it is that career development, it's a unique journey that is very peculiar to each individual. So that's the reason why I want to create this repository of unique experiences of, I would say, emerging and outstanding individuals or talents on how they will be able to navigate their journeys from nobody knows me to being at the frontiers of their career. And that's the reason why I want to just ask a very simple question that captures all of that, which is Bukayo, how did you do it?
Really, how did I do it? This is about duplicating it, right? I think I like the fact that you mentioned already that there's no one size fits all. I like to say you need to run your career like an experimentation, like you run a job marketing, a growth experimentation, or business experimentation, almost like an agile framework. So you need to try this, do it, ship, then see what the feedback is, see what the result is, then you iterate. I can point about, different things that came together, but again, I can't say this is what would work for you. So I would like to put that background to a couple of things before I get ahead. Very funny. I started my marketing journey when I was in school. I was still in year three, plus or minus, I think year three or year four. And then I started working already as a marketing professional. And my first job was very funny because when we graduated from school immediately, fortunately, the course advisor had already taken a list. The course advisor asked the classroom to give a list of everybody that's actually doing something outside of school, the names and exactly what they do. Very funny. And immediately I finished school, in fact, I'm not going for NYC. I literally not even got to my certificate. And I got an offer from Unilag to work with Center for Housing Studies, majorly as a program officer who'll be in charge of the websites, email marketing workshops, and a couple of things like that. And I was surprised. I'm like, how does this woman know what I do? And that kind of thing. There's no brainer there. It's not something like I tell you, say, do this so that you get this outcome. But my journey has been majorly, resilient curiosity. So you need to be resilient, you need to be curious, majorly. And I grew from CHSP Unilag today to where I currently am head of business for Martech and Adtech at Pisi Mobile. And it's been one thing after the other. I can tell you that there are times where I've applied for an average of 20 jobs a day and I would get like rejection of 20. There's a period of 3 months, and I'm not exaggerating, like thousands of rejections. My career has been like that. Started very early in CHSTE, was able to move on to work as Hot FM. I literally came into Hot FM trying to work in collaboration with a friend for digital, so majorly social and email. And I kind of grew. So I would say like curiosity really led me to then become a team lead indirectly, where I had to then report directly to the MD and the general manager. And he was able to see, that curiosity and that driving me. Even though I do so myself. And from there, moved to LDM, then drove to Eskimi. Eskimi, I was able to do about 3 to 4 roles. And then I currently am today at PC Mobile as head of business for Adtech and Martech. It's been an interesting journey. It's been if I highlight about three or four major things that's contributed to my career, it's been people, number one. I've never applied for a job and gotten a job. That's the funniest part. Every job I actually manually apply, either via LinkedIn, email, whatever, I never get it. It's the job that I get referral from or just consultation and they want to have me on full time that I somehow get the job. It's quite funny. Um, but that's how the journey has been.
Thanks for sharing that. And that's the reason why I said journeys are very unique when it comes to anything that one wants to do, particularly in the field of marketing and tech. You talked about three things. One, rejection. You being able to like see rejections and overcome rejections. And I'll share his personal experience. And I was speaking with my wife about this. I see job applications and rejections as a deck of cards. She had a recent rejection that really hit her. And I told her that because you see me apply for jobs and get it, this is how I look at jobs mentally. It's like a deck of cards. Keep opening the cards that you are dealt, and you keep on seeing the ones that doesn't belong to you. But what I can guarantee you, with the right skill, confidence, and experience, you will finally see that one card that is actually meant for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I see it from a job application perspective. Another one that you touched on is networking with people. And the final one is curiosity. So I want you to touch on that part of curiosity as it ties into development. And I see it as curiosity, development, learning, preparation, and opportunity. So if you're able to walk your way through it, once the opportunity comes, you are very ready to pounce and be the best version of yourself. Tell me about it when it comes to you being very curious.
I think today people usually say, do not be scared to reinvent yourself. If you are being a marketing professional and tomorrow you want to be a product marketing manager, they tell you like, hey, do not be scared to reinvent yourself, that kind of thing. But I've seen myself transition over time. But I think I've only once consciously sat down and say, I want to move to this role. I want to move to this particular space differently. Over time, what has led me to grow into different roles and different capacity is curiosity. So I'll walk you through the journey. Started marketing curiosity with the 5 bikes hosted by Google. I was curious. I went for that class. It was nice. I was like, this is good. The next thing that led me was then it had a DBM Plus. This was around 2016 or 2015, if I'm not mistaken. DBM Plus was like an upgrade to DD5 bike. So you needed to have done DD5 bike certification before you then do DBM Plus. And it's funny because I didn't think I was going to get into DBM Plus to actually fix that, but I was curious. And I went there. And I got there and I saw a lot of agency guys. And he was the guy that I started marketing goals. I think I was in year 4, year 5 plus or 9 instead. And I did well. I was curious and I got to learn a lot of things. And I went back and then I started applying those things to businesses and my job in terms of my freelance work at that certain time that I was managing. And it started to yield results. I started from social media management and I was curious, how do I design? So I need to design. And I found out Canva. And trust me, when people started talking about Canva, I had used the Canva. There was no Canva Pro. It was Canva Pro. It was Canva. I'm talking about 2015 or 2016 or so, thereabouts, if I'm not mistaken. Then I said, learn principles of design so that my designs makes more sense. I understand border and all of that. Mm-hmm. And then from that, I then learned to create content on social. Then I became, okay, I need to understand how social media works. Then I started reading a lot of, I can tell you, I read a lot of Neil Patel's article, like a lot. Neil Patel was like the bomb that time. There was one other website again, subscribed to a lot of newsletters, and I read a lot of content. I watched a lot of videos on YouTube. And then I started creating content, started writing captions. Then I learned, social media marketing, automation, tweet deck, managing multiple accounts, scheduling posts, Hootsuite. Hootsuite was like the major thing that time, Hootsuite and Buffer before then Sprout Social and all of that then came up on. So it led me to social media marketing, led me to paid marketing. Then I started creating content for my website instead of writing articles. Then content writing then led me to SEO because I needed to understand how search engine optimization worked. Then I found out on-page, off-page, local SEO. I read a shitload of Brian Dean's article, black hat, white hat. So Brian Dean is like the go-to person. So you see, Brian Dean and Richard Finch scheme, if I'm not mistaken, that was the time of Moz SEO, Moz.com. There was SEO Rush, but Moz was like if you wanted SEO, Richard was like the guy you had to go to, and Brian Dean read a lot of those guys' content back to back on Backlinko. And you can see how like curiosity led me to say, oh, I need to do this. So I need to learn how to do this. Okay, now that I'm doing this, what can I do better? So it's been a stack of, now that I'm doing this, what's the low hanging fruits that people are not doing that I can get to do? Then I do that. Okay, I'm doing this. I need to learn exactly how to do this professionally. Then I have to get stacked on it. So things just got stacked upon each other like that. And my curiosity drive me to, to find the solutions out there from articles to, I think we were much more the Google generation. Curiosity upon curiosity. Then I wanted to understand how business works and sales. And I moved to SQE. I became an account manager. Curiosity upon curiosity has led me to where I am today. I think just ask questions, be ready to put in the work, and then you get the result because no one can take it away from you. That's what I tell people. Whether you're putting extra hours at the current, depending on the size of the company, literally no one can take it away from you, even if you decide to leave.
Wow. So Bukayo talked about curiosity, and his journey for me sounds very, very, very familiar. And I remember when we stayed out of school, and we got into the field of marketing. Own pace setters, that is the guys before us, the guys from the early 2000s that were into marketing, traditional marketing, and came into digital. They were telling us then that we found it very easy, that we're in the Google age where we can check for information and we can find answers to things. But from what he's saying now, despite the fact that they told us then that we found it very easy, even us too, we can actually tell the young cats that they too, they're actually finding it easy because getting information in a structured way was extremely difficult. And Nigeria is extremely competitive, and we see the fruits of that in the global stage where a Nigerian just gets into a particular organization and it blows everybody away without even utilizing 50% of his capacity because we have found a way to make things work regardless of the card that we are dealt. So thank you very much for that. You talked about there was less structured information to gather back then to even help you improve much more faster. Now that's, let's just say it is assumed because the profession will always evolve. The new guys too will say there was nothing when they too were running things. Now that we are here, what are the things that you would say emerging professionals are currently missing, the elements that you can point to that they are currently missing? If they should listen to you today, they have the opportunity to iterate, pivot, optimize their careers at the moment. What are the things I think is left behind that they can work upon?
Now, I think in today's world, one of the challenges, I don't like using the word problem, that might be faced is in this time of young people or people trying to pivot in terms of existing already is now we move from scattered information to less information and scattered. But now they have structured, we now have structured, don't let me say they, I'm still a very young man. So we now have like a very structured information out there, but we run at the risk of over information. So I think that's what's currently happening now. There is information overload. So you now have to find how do you filter through the noise? Because you can be on a session and then the person goes around and say, yeah, then it's not quality particularly. And I've seen that happen a lot. So the challenge is not quality information. How do you find structured and quality amidst the noise of the whole personal brand and people sharing a lot of information out there? I think that could be done through finding content that people have taken in terms of structured testimonial. It's the first thing I always said. That's easier for you to know the kind of content to consume, that's paid or organic, in terms of free content. I mean, in that situation. On the other hand, another thing that it can also set you apart is not just queue acquisition again, which really worked for me in my own time. Is I like to tell people like reliability is a superpower, and I'll give you a learning from the field team when it comes to the Navy in the US. And I was listening to Simon. I can't remember this guy, but Simon. If I remember his last name, I'll let you know. And he mentioned that there are majorly four categories of people. Nobody likes the low trust, low performance guy. So nobody really trusts the guy, and his output is very low. That's different. The other end, which is low trust, high performance person. What they found out for somebody that is low trust and high performance is that even though his performance output is very high, because there is low trust within the team, they tend to be assholes and toxic people. They might be actually getting out the numbers and the results, but nobody likes working with them. They would rather choose someone who is medium trust or high trust, medium performance over someone that is low trust, high performance. Because that person is reliable. That person can work with the team better. And that's the same thing that goes for me. When I'm hiring a team, when we've done all of the technical and skill assessments, I actually ask people questions that has to do with reliability and with curiosity. I ask things like, what's the last book you read? How long ago was it? What's the last course you took? To understand how curious the person is. And then we deep dive into those things. And when the person mentions something, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Do you consume random knowledge? Just to understand how curious the person's mind is. Because you can always teach skill. Skill is something like that. If I give you structured data, today, if you want to go into software engineering, say for example, or data science today, if I give you structured content, if you put in the time of consistency to learn and practice, you would become a data scientist with time. But you see, the other part of it that is difficult to teach people is curiosity and reliability. If I find out they are curious, then the second thing is reliable. If someone tells you they're going to get something done, if you tell someone you're going to get something done at the time you're going to get that thing done. It's not about getting it the best thing. Get it done. Let people know that they can count on you. Let people know that you can get things done. Like they can go to bed and they know that this thing will get done. Or Mahmoud will get this thing done. That's another superpower because the person can then give you grace because there's a point of grace, especially when you're young. You will make mistakes. There is absolutely nothing you do. I like to tell people that if you're doing anything and you're not making mistakes, then I don't think it's the right thing to do because you are really good at that thing, then you're not learning because you're already so good about it. So what are you really learning there? You need to make some mistakes. Definitely not costly mistakes, but some mistakes in that situation. So you need to be reliable so that the days where you actually make mistakes, you build integrity that people can give you that grace. Or when there are situations where things are not in your control and rooms that you don't have access to, people can vouch for you. Because that's actually what's built the likability and is vouching for people. So there is trust and there is also performance. So it's a mix of those things. And that's what I would say to add to your current skill structure. Filter through the noise to find, quality content and not just our things around information overload right now. And then curiosity and reliability are superpowers that people will just love about you and like you for that because you deliver when you say you deliver. And if you can't communicate that you can deliver at this point, it makes a lot more sense.
Wow. These are the kind of sessions people typically should pay for. And I want to assume that looking at what we put on LinkedIn, for example, within marketing, I know you've invested so much in other things. We pretty much started at the same level. So we're pretty much peers, we're contemporaries in this case. But one thing that I learned from the last guest was when you're seeking mentorship doesn't have to be always vertical. Mentorship can actually be horizontal. And what I heard from you in the last 5 minutes is something I would typically learn from Chooks or like say Mariam or Ayadi. But because we are probably like minds and we function in the same way, we're very aggressive in terms of development. We always stem to go and look for things that you would know, you would be able to articulate, and I might know it or not, but I will be able to learn it from you as a result of we connecting on the same frequency. And I'm really, really happy that you shared that, especially the Navy SEAL analogy that you gave within low trust and high trust individuals. So thank you very much for that. This is the part where things now becomes like less relaxed and about current work. So what are the kind of projects that you're working on, or probably in the past, you didn't need to mention names, that you're extremely proud of, and what's the thought process behind those projects?
Looking at it now, I'm trying to think of something. I think one of the things is, I think I'll use as a role for a start is when I worked at, SKM, I was able to work at different levels and different scale of, projects as well as different scale of outputs. At senior account manager, I was working in West and Central Africa, and at the point I was the only account manager when I was churning out content for Nigeria, for Cameroon, for Gabon, for Senegal, for Cote d'Ivoire, at the point I burnt out. So I think I would first say that role has been really integral in my part for a start. Then we speak specifically to projects. I definitely cannot make mentions of brands, but I can let you understand the industry. So I've been able to work, for example, on a telco brand in the Francophone market where their goal was majorly to drive up how many users they have in competition with their other markets. So, the telco brand is in multiple markets in Africa, and the same products was also running in multiple markets. And I think at that point, we were like number six in terms of the number of users that we had. And while working with us and the different strategies that we were able to implement and audience segmentation and targeting properly, we were able to drive them to like number two in Africa from number six, which was really good because they came back the next year and they said, you guys really did something fantastic for us. Well, we went for like, African wide meeting. We got a great commendation from the team and we loved working with you. So this year we want to double down on what we did and being able to, go for the number one spot at that point. That was an interesting project at my time there. Currently, I'm working on quite a lot of things, to be honest. I was brought into TC to, lead and set up and lead the business arm of things when it comes to ad tech and martech. So when it comes to advertising technology solutions, marketing technology solutions, so we talk about programmatic advertising, we talk about RCS messaging, we talk about bulk SMS, both transactional and promotional messaging for that. Definitely we have reaching that creative, and then also different projects. So there's quite a lot of projects that are running simultaneously. These are the projects that are live. There are definitely other projects that are in the background working on. But it's interesting because now it's a lot more high level again. You're speaking with like very like big guys. I like to tell people that I think the reason why managers or like business leads and this thing are making a lot more money is because the size of the decisions they're making is a lot more bigger. And then a lot of the mental stress of what you need to think of is also a lot more. You're thinking of business strategy, you're thinking of sales and not just marketing. And I think it's been very interesting. It's been challenging and I've loved every moment of it. So I think that would be the second current project that I'm working on and I'll be very, very proud of. So far from zero presence in January to right now, we have presence, we have some clients onboarding and people already know us in the markets in terms of market penetration and market segmentation.
Wow.
So it's been great. So that's been working well. The team has been fantastic behind because it's several stakeholders from technology, building tech itself to commercials and it's been fantastic. So that will be a second project that I can think of top of mind right now that wouldn't infringe with NDA because I think there are a couple of other things but like I haven't been signed for a couple of years before I can speak to them.
That's okay. So overall, now we're speaking about top level now within the industry. What are the things, obviously, aside from the crappy internet, what are the things that you think can make the marketing, martech, what are the things that you think needs to change now, particularly within the Nigerian market? What are the things that you feel before you go ahead? My last guest, Danola Popola, he asked me a very important question. If I had the opportunity to chart the direction of my career, judging by what I know right now, that if I were to start again, where would I start? I told him clearly that I'll start at the highest level, make my way to the highest level, and start from a very junior role and make it to the top. The reason for that is it is not because of the amount of talent within the Nigerian industry. What you know right now, Bukayo, and I'm going to be giving you free game here, whatever you know about platforms, about audiences, about what makes them tick, about business. If you should make it to New York, for San Francisco, Los Angeles, any major city that is known for business today, you will thrive. It has nothing to do with talent. I'm telling you 100%. The only way you will not thrive is if only you BS your way through Nigeria to where you are. So the industry as a whole, what do you think has to change that would make us better and much more respected globally?
One of the first things that I've seen in a couple of years that could change in terms of improvement that we can make for marketing and advertising entirely. And I try to always, distinct those two things and also talk about it because I think the first one would be to properly do marketing and not just do advertising. Because a lot of times people focus on just advertising. A lot of guys just want to do advertising and they're literally 4 P's or 6 P's of marketing. So what we usually do is we pick only 1 P and then we leave the remaining P's to other departments. So what then happens is you see marketing guys complaining that I don't have funds or I cannot influence the products. What happens is they've left that part of the table for them and they didn't properly define at the point of onboarding or at the point of interview with them to say, what's going to be my scope of work? This is the scope of work I'm expecting. These are the places I expect to be able to influence. I expect to be able to influence the pricing. And when we're talking about pricing strategy, I'm in the room to let you understand how pricing structure would work and affect things on the marketing side of things. We build that into the products. Because at times people develop products, decide the pricing, and then they just dump it on the marketing guys and they expect that they just do abracadabra and then zoom. It's going to do or Expelliarmus and then there's one magic wand wave and they get the results. I would say a lot of marketing professionals need to make sure they set up the expectations properly from inception because I mean once you enter it's difficult to come in because they've already defined the scope of work and you've agreed to that, then you can't start trying to redefine it at that point. You hold the leverage and hold the bargaining chip in the beginning is what I would say. So you make influence on the product development and the product process, you make influence on the pricing strategy, which means you definitely yourself have to learn and you're not going to stick to just learning advertising, which is just promotion part of things. You understand? Because a lot of people stick to just learning advertising to say what campaign can we run and just campaign thinking top of the head kind of situation. That's the first thing. I think the second thing I'll then also do is evolution and innovation kind of thing. I've seen things being done and it's been a lot. The OGs in the advertising industry have really put in a lot of work for us to be able to be where we are today because they've had to put a lot of work and do things for passion and creativity where the outcome in terms of the reward isn't like we are enjoying right now today. The market was small, the GDP was smaller. This brand didn't understand, the impact of advertising as much as they currently do, better digital or traditional right now. But what I've noticed also, what I think we could do better is for us to play our parts as the current people, younger people, is that we need to start thinking about innovation and evolution. And innovation doesn't have to stick with just tech innovation because a lot of times we think about innovation from MarTech or AdTech innovation, but we also need to think about business innovation. I see the structure of advertising agencies almost always the same, practically everywhere. The revenue stream is literally almost the same. The revenue structure is almost the same across board. And we need to start thinking of new innovative ways in terms of business innovation for marketing, business innovation for advertising industry. Those two things would be where I would say things need to be done better so that you can then increase the value that you're giving to an advertising agency to your company. So we can then increase our billing size. Advertising agencies can make a lot more money. Marketing professionals can make a lot more money. Growth agencies can make a lot more money. Because the pie is now bigger. We're not all fighting for the same pie. We've expanded the pie. And then you are actually now giving more value. Either it's a brand agency relationship or it's an internal marketing team relationship entirely. And I think the last thing that I think could change is, again, is related to business a little bit. Because I've been able to evolve to, the business side of things and all of that, I do understand some rebuttals that I didn't used to get before. I get it now. Why people are like, marketing is a cost center. I'm like, it's annoying, to be honest. But we also have some responsibility to take part of in that because the finance and CFOs don't get to understand it, but we have some part of responsibility to show. We need to be able to do proper measurements and attribution to how our efforts are ties to the business bottom line, directly or indirectly. And indirectly could be because there are situations where, say, for example, you work at an FMCG companies, you almost wouldn't be able to directly tie into that in terms of because it's not a tech product, it's not a digital product that you can link it linearly to say we generate this number of acquisitions that generated this number of revenue, and this is the customer lifetime value of people. You need to be able to then contribute. How am I going to measure and attribute my efforts to the bottom line. So you can look at things like market share before you came in and when you came in. When you run campaigns, you run brand lift campaigns to measure the impact. You get to learn to actually pay for brand mention tools and tracking things to understand sentiment analysis, how you will improve the perception of of your products in the market, which then led to people not picking up your products offline, which generated sales. You need to think about it. It's not easy, especially when it's indirect. It's actually a lot harder for that. But if you are able to think through it and come up with an innovative way to actually measure efficiently, then you start listening to you. Then we'll start getting proper reputation in different companies that we work with, depending on any side, whether it's tech, whether it's agency, whether it's client side, whether it's FMCG products and the likes. So those would be the three things I would say we could do better or we could, add to the current things we're doing today. Because we're doing great. We're doing fantastically well.
We are doing great. And I spoke with my mentor about what you said, and she talked about the way marketing is being run in some cases where we just want to be a fly in the wall. And you put a better word to it by saying business is looking at marketing as a cost center. And that's the reason why anytime there is an economic downturn, marketing is always the first to get cut. And the reality is that it's actually marketing that's actually meant to now push even much more further, because the tide is coming. Now you need to go into the eye of the storm
and get the money.
And get the money. But because the industry generally, and this is no fault of anybody here, the industry has always been about getting money out. Marketing has to get money out. And now, so anytime there's an issue, there's an economical issue or there's a business issue, the first person that people look at is the person that's been taking money out. And they look at the person in sales, or for example, as, okay, this is the person bringing money in, or the person in product who's actually creating value for the product, be it digital or non-digital. So thank you very much for that. I would like us to wind down very quickly. If you had an opportunity to create one super product right now, one product that you were proud of, as in what kind of product or brand would you want to create for all of us to enjoy?
I did Yakpao. So if I was to do anything different, the project in this time of situation would be to find an alternative way for an existing business to make money. I would say even a big size current agency or a big size ad tech company to an innovative way to make money in a different way. That would be what I would do today. That would be what I mean. I have a couple of ideas, but yeah, that would be what I would do. I think, give me an example just top of mind. When you were working at an agency at that time, and then when you work on strategies and all of that, when it comes to influencer marketing, you go online and then you start looking for these guys, and then you can't find these guys directly. So you basically can find their managers. Just putting it out there. Maybe someone will hear this and do it. It will be great. Everybody will make more money. And then you find those guys, but you can't speak to them. You find the managers. Then the managers will now start billing you 2.5 million, 4 million for one tweet, blah, blah, blah. And then they come back to you. Or you find the agency that is managing them, which is usually most of the thing. And then you now pay those guys 4 million. If you're not using 4 influencers, you now pay it's 8 million or 22 million that is going out. And then we will not think about our own salary. And how much are we really making? Mahmoud, when we were, doing this, we know how many campaigns you're not running simultaneously. And it's a thing of value. It's not personal. It's just value. It's just that influencer is able to bring much more value that can be measured and attributed to the brand that needs to use it. It's nothing personal. I don't, trust me, I'm not sentimental about anything like that. When it's always, I just say, see, bring value. There's literally nobody that you bring value and you identify that value to the person and show the consistency. Not I will do, it is I have done. And the person will say no. If I make you 50 million every month or $100 million every month, and I tell you I need more money to pay me, you would think about it. Do you want this guy to go? He's making you money. Let me just pay him a fraction of it. Do you understand? That's how it works. It's not sentimental. So that's one revenue stream. I would say that, for example, advertising agencies need to own that value chain. We need to start thinking in value chain. Now, that's something the other businesses have learned a long time ago, and I'm surprised we haven't adopted that. The FMCGs walk through the value chain entirely. They enter Nigeria, they start with one. They do a partner with an existing players. So that existing player just does the manufacturing for them, blah blah blah, and then they label it with their own brand. They get big enough. Once they do that, they get big enough to now have the market size, the revenue stream. Then they start the manufacturing themselves. When they start the manufacturing, source the raw material from themselves, they make a lot of money more. Then they go to the farm and then they go to the north and then they buy like 17,000 hectares of land. It's taking the value chain and making sure you are making more money and managing the resources. In marketing or advertising, depending on the case, we need to look at the value and being able to see what part of the value chain are we capturing? How can we begin to capture the other parts of the value chain? That's what I would do in terms of projects. And I will start working on different projects on the different parts of the value chain. By the time we are done in 25, 40 years, we've built a massive conglomerate. I am so sure of this. Imagine talent for that for influencer marketing was done internally in agencies. Agencies find people into a talent management company, nurture those guys. You already have the brands to give those people. So you nurture, you invest in them to try and make them go viral and create quality content, almost like record labels do, or like VC do when they invest in multiple companies. You just need, say, 4 out of 7 people or 10 people actually blow. And then now that value chain is in your group. Then this company is giving projects to this person. You are making a cut off the talent management. You are making money directly to your other business venture, and then you're expanding your revenue line. So there's so many parts of the value chain that can be made. That part of it hurts me the most when it comes to influencer marketing, because I see marketers complain a lot of the time. I see they're paying this person. I'm like, you keep making it sentimental. It's not sentimental. Brands are paying these people because they're able to deliver the value. If we can deliver the value or find a way to make money in that value chain as well and deliver value, then we are fine. It's not personal.
It's not personal. And Bukayo, on this part of the conversation, I'll definitely pick it up with you personally, because you touched on several points, and those points are actually attributed to certain opportunities that have been put on my table that I can explore business-wise. I'm actually meant to make a decision by tomorrow on one of those opportunities. I believe, despite the fact that I think I know so much about how the industry works, there's always a blind side, and I want to pick your brain on that, on those blind sides before I make my decision on that. But what you said right now resonates well with me, particularly around the influencer marketing space. So we'll definitely touch on that. Thanks very much for on that. And one question I'm sure you get all the time from all of your speaking engagements: what are your thoughts on AI? Just tell me.
Yeah, is necessary. I don't think I can use a day without it. Yeah, it's all. I use GPT-4 and Gemini Advanced, both paid version. You can imagine. So it's important. I think what would happen is AI would not take people's jobs per se. What would happen is AI would take people that refuse to learn how to use AI to make their job easier and faster. That's the people's job that it would take. If they give us a project together and I'm able to get output in 2 hours because I'm able to use AI to do a lot of redundant tasks or some analytical things I need to analyze. When you're running paid marketing campaigns, and then you need to analyze like a whole sheet of data. If you're able, there's so many things that you can do to it. That's what I think. I think you need to use AI. If they're not using AI now, making mistakes and learning and knowing how to do. By the time the world affects it, you would not have to learn when you could have learned a lot earlier and be ahead of the curve. So you want to be ahead of the curve. You don't want to be in the curve with people.
You're right about that. One of my guests in the past, he gave an analogy around AI. AI is basically just another tool, like every other tool that humans have been exposed to when it comes to technology and advancement of our species. That is, it will not take all the jobs and keep everybody indoor and everybody be jobless. AI is just like the innovation of personal computer. The typists that made savings and bought personal computers for themselves and learned how to use the MS-DOS, all those little applications in their primitive form. They went on to get better jobs or maintain their jobs. And the ones that said, no, mechanical is the way. I like the way it feels in my hand. I like when I can touch raw art paper. Those ones, they were caught to the storm and they were washed away. So I think that's the way people need to be looking at it. You are a soldier and you need ammunition, and basically AI is just another thing that you had to your arsenal to make it much more effective. So this last question would be a very funny question. What song describes your life right now?
What song describes my life? It is Christ is my firm foundation by Maverick City, because
Oh,
right now, and that's the anchor. He's the anchor. A lot of things are going on in Nigeria, but I do not work by sight. But we work by faith. I'm very big on my faith, so that's the song that defines my life right now. Is whatever is happening, my anchor is in Christ. My anchor is in God. I believe in Him, and He has a better plan for me. So God cannot mismanage my life. That gives me assurance. So.
thank you very much for that. And this last question is coming from the previous speaker. I asked him to ask the next guest a question, and you to also be sending me a question privately that we're asking the next guest. Is there a framework that you use with your teams that makes them to be as optimal as possible? You talked about the part of recruitment, which is clear. So you can start from there, getting the job and generating output. Is there a framework that you to make things work for you?
I think the recruitment part, you kind of mentioned it already. You need to do skill assessments. I used to think that everybody could get it right. I learned that not even everybody gets it right again. So it's always good to have the hiring manager on the recruitment and not just HR. HR should help you get the CV in, and your hiring manager should do that. And then you go to the next thing, which has to be with team and hiring. So you need the team members, because I a big believer in flat structure, even if do we know the hierarchy. But you need the team assessments, because you don't want one person to come into the team and scatter it. So if they're not vibing and they don't see the same energy, then that's the problem. And then the last thing is, character assessments, in terms of, people will call it culture fit, because culture fit is much more of a, but I think culture fit is something that has to be handled by HR to understand, company culture. But I also think character assessment is different, which is why I spoke about, curiosity, being able to understand that person is curious, reliability, and things like that. The next thing would then be onboarding. I think it's a lot of mistake we make in this part of the world as well. We underestimate the value of onboarding people properly. So you need to make sure you onboard someone well. You do feedback sessions with them well. You can't just fire people without giving them feedback. That's what bothers me the most. People fire people without giving them feedback. And I'm wondering, you didn't tell this person this is how you want something done, and they didn't do it that way. You have to train the person and onboard the person properly. That would be the next thing I would say. And then the third thing, which I think onboarding already had documents on documentation. You need to have documentation for processes, operational things, so that when somebody comes and go, there is a structure for things to be done and replicated, because replication is quite important there.
So the framework works from recruitment down into the team and output.
Yes. I think the next thing is how people think through problems. And I say this a lot. There are majorly two ways in which I think through problems, or people should think through problems or challenges. Is the first thing is, look at what I currently doing, what's currently working. You don't have to invent the entire way. What's currently working? How do you scale what is currently working? That's the first thing. You find that, okay, out of 100%, this is working, this is working, this isn't working. So this that is working, how do we scale this to have higher impact and do it on a bigger scale and a bigger level? Then the second thing you now start thinking of is, what can we do better? Where do the opportunities lie? Not necessarily looking at the problems, but actually where do opportunities lie? Because sometimes it's solving the current problem, or times it's literally ditching that problem and finding new opportunities to generate things. So where does the opportunity lie? Your brain works in a way like, I want to come in and do a new thing, a new different idea. But you can actually look at what's currently working and scale that. Literally, because it's almost a cheaper way or an efficient way to take something from 0 to 1,000. If it's on 2, you just multiply it by 10 and you get 200 without doing a lot. Nothing new, just more inputs. So yeah.
Thank you very much for that. And there's energy in the universe that there are certain things you will hear one time and you'll be like, okay, that sounds very cute. And when you hear it another time, you'll be like, wow, this really is a message and it resonates properly. You talked about where the opportunity lies. And anytime I'm approached by a business, an opportunity, working with somebody, and we need to solve a problem, the focus is always about the problem. And oftentimes people don't look for where the opportunities are within that existing problem. And by the time you're able to spot the opportunity, you will find out that you will have less work to be done. Just like the analogy you give that you multiply 2 times 10 and it gives you 100. But if you are just bent on looking at the brief itself as a problem, you are not even looking at the actual problem that the brief is trying to communicate with you. When you said that, it allows certain messages that I've heard in the past from previous experiences that I just like pushed away, like, oh, this doesn't really count. Okay, we've heard you. Now it's beginning to sit home, and that's what this conversation is pretty much about. And thank you so much, Aya. It's not difficult scheduling these kind of calls, and I really 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 appreciate the opportunity for wanting to like share your experience with people on this platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I look forward to like probably 2 years 3 years from now we sit down
We do this again, right?
yes, we sit down in a proper venue where we bring in people to even get an update to the knowledge, because I think that's very important as well. So thank you very much, and I'll be reaching out to you personally.
Thank you
Cheers.
so much for having me. It's been great. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Cheers.
Okay, bye.